How to write a good first chapter. What's up, writers? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maua, and today I'm going to talk about the topic of the first chapter. We all know how important the first chapter is, so it needs to be impactful. As a writer, you should know the first chapter is the most important chapter of your entire life. This chapter can make you acquire the reads you need, or it can make you lose any hopes you had for your book. That being said, you need to be very careful when writing this chapter. Take your time revising it, making sure it's exactly what you need it to be. Now, let's get to what you as a writer can do to make your first chapter impactful. First and foremost, you need to introduce a memorable protagonist. Do not hold back about who they are as soon as possible. The moment you introduce them, don't hold back. Don't be like, I'm gonna tell people who they are later on in the book. No, you need to do it as soon as possible. Introduce your protagonist impactfully. How to make sure your protagonist is introduced the way they should be. Number one, give them a strong, effective voice. By strong, effective, I don't mean you need to make them sound rude or sound, I don't know, some kind of almighty or whatever. Whatever voice you give them, make sure it's very strong, make sure it's impactful, and make sure they stick to it. Describe them in a way that can tell people exactly how your protagonist looks like. Don't hold back. Tell us his hair, tell us his body type, tell us how he looks, tell us everything. Readers need to know how your protagonist looks like. Number three, give them purpose. Let your protagonist have reasons for doing things they do. They can't just be doing things without any good reason. Let them do things with a reason behind them. Choose what kind of person they are and portray it exactly like that. So for example, let's say they are messed up people. Portray it exactly they are as messed up people. Let's say they have problems. Portray their problems exactly the way they are. Do not hold back in your protagonist. This is a time to introduce them, so do not hold back. Whatever it is they are, don't hold back. Point number two on how to write an impactful first chapter is choose your point of view. This part, you need to choose wisely. Generally, you're supposed to choose the point of view you're most comfortable writing in, whether it's first person point of view or third person's point of view. So whatever is easier for you, that's what you need to write in. Don't look at what other people do, look within yourself. What can you do? How easy it is for you, which point of view is easier for you to use. Instead of looking at other people, how other books are done, you need to look within yourself. Number three, decide on the tense you want to use and stick to it. What kind of tense do you want to write in? Present tense, past tense. For example, with me, I personally like to use past tense because I find it easier, since I look at it like this. I'm telling a story. So instead of living through the story, I'm actually telling the events that I already experienced. Number four, choose best starting point. I'm saying best starting point because I don't want you making the mistake of starting your first point by someone waking up. That's the worst you can start. That's the worst way you can start. So you need to avoid that as much as possible. You want to choose your first point when your character is already doing something. For example, maybe they're standing somewhere, or maybe they're running from something. That way, the readers will already be intrigued to finding out what's happening next. For example, if your character is running, the reader will already be intrigued into finding out what's making them run. Whatever you do, make sure it's best and natural. The reason I'm saying it should be natural is so that you can ease your plot and let it flow naturally to the later chapters. Number five, do not dwell in setting and environment for too long. I've seen this in so many new writers. They're explaining on and on about how the environment looks like, what the character is wearing, how he likes the environment, on and on about things which are not important. You should not dwell into things which are not important. Make sure you always explain only the important stuff. Later on in your later chapters, if you want to explain the environment, the houses, you can do that. But your first chapter, don't dwell on non-important things. Instead, be more mindful of the goals of your character and what they're supposed to be doing next. Later, as I said, you can go back and explain the environment, the houses, what they're wearing, whatever. But first, be mindful of their next goal. Number 6, create that wow moment. Create that moment when readers are going to start thinking like, oh my god, what the heck just happened? That moment is what readers are looking for. Make sure you create it. For example, I'm going to give you an example of my own book, which the first chapter had that moment. Okay, so my first chapter already had a lot of those moments, but I made sure just before I ended the chapter, I had that wow moment where readers were like, oh my god, I'm sure that moment was what made my readers to turn the next page. I'm going to give you an example of it, just a little bit. Listen to this. A few hours into my work, I was standing near the ancient Greece antique, wiping and organizing when I felt it. It started with the tingling of my tattoo behind my left shoulders. I'm calling it a tattoo, but really, I don't remember going to any tattoo artist to get it. Felt like it just sort of showed up out of nowhere and planted itself there. It's a freaky kind of tattoo if you ask me. It looks like conjoined hearts in a weird looking cycle, with vines of some sort extending outwards. But it looks badass, so there's that. After the tingling of my tattoo, the entire shop had a shift of aura. The air became denser, harder even. The small hairs on my neck stood up straight. I knew this couldn't be a ghost. Ghost didn't spook me out, and most certainly did not shift the entire atmosphere of a place. So yeah, as you can see, this book is supernatural, so yeah, but still, there was that moment when readers were like, oh my god, what is going on? What is this? You understand? So always make sure you have that wow moment in your first chapter. Don't make it short and don't make it too long. But also, if you can, try to create more than one wow moment. Number 7, introduce the other major character. By the other major character, I don't mean it has to be the antagonist. No. It can be any other major character, maybe a mother, maybe whoever is the other major character. But I would recommend to introduce your antagonist because readers like a good opposition character. Number 8, have a great dialogue. By having a great dialogue, I mean you need to avoid sounding like a child. Unless your book is meant for children, you definitely need to avoid your characters to sound like children. Your dialogues in any of your characters need to tell the reader what kind of person the speaker is. What personality are they? Make sure you always have an impactful dialogue that tells people exactly who their speaker is. Number 9, and the last one is end your chapter with an impactful cliffhanger. This is very important. End your first chapter with a cliffhanger. If you have a good cliffhanger, I guarantee you it will reassure you a page turn. The biggest mistake you can ever make with your first chapter is to end it with nothing to go on. Someone can ask, okay, how do I know if this is the best cliffhanger? I'm going to give you a little secrets on how you can know if this is the best cliffhanger for your first chapter. If your last sentence or paragraph creates more questions, that's the best cliffhanger. Readers like to get answers, so end your chapter just when the readers are expecting to get answers. but they don't get it until they turn that page. That's the best cliffhanger. Make the readers always want to find out what happens next. Alright, those are my 9 best points in which you can create the best first chapter. And if you guys like this video, please thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.